Hey, this is JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like. And what do I have here? I've got a Tudor Auto Princess Tudor. So this Tudor is a watch company owned by Rolex at one time. I'm not sure if it's still owned by Rolex, but this is called the Auto Princess. It's a really small watch. It's a watch, not a pocket watch. I normally do pocket watches and sometimes do watches, and this is a lady's watch. So somebody begged me to do this. I should have said no. I usually say no, but they basically guilted me into doing it. So I said, okay, I'll try it out. So it's not a given because this watch is, as you'll see later, there's an issue with this watch that I don't know whether I can resolve or not. So there's the movement inside, and you can see the rotor there is quite present and available, and there it is. I think I'm going to get a close-up of this thing and we'll see what it looks like. So here I'm taking the rotor off very carefully, putting a little piece of Rodico on just to brace the rotor very carefully as I take the screw off. And first thing I notice is that the screw for the rotor was loose. So likely another watchmaker was in here playing with this, and likely wasn't a good watchmaker because the rotor screw should not be loose, and it was. And it just jumped off my Bergeron 5395 movement holder. So I just grabbed the rotor from underneath and then take that rotor and put it out of the way. Now to take the stem out of the watch, there's a little tiny button that's right next to the stem, and you just push down on that button nice and firmly, and then you can just pull the stem straight out, as you can see. And there's the watch stem. Put that away. So here I'm removing one of two screws that are used to hold down the gears for the automatic winding mechanism. So this plate here holds two gears, and they allow the rotor to turn in either direction, and it will wind the mainspring barrel if I turn the rotor in either direction. So I've removed that screw from the plate and grabbed that and just put that aside. And the same thing goes here. Just attack the other screw. There's only two screws holding this plate down. And the plate does have the wheels underneath that are held in place by yet another plate on the underneath of this particular plate. So it's you got to be very careful when you're doing this that you don't damage anything. Here I'm cleaning off the screwdrivers. I saw a very small hair on that screwdriver. I had to remove that so I don't add that to the watch later on, and it could cause all kinds of problems with this very fine movement. And now I'm just wedging a screwdriver in here to lift the plate up and find an area that's not going to cause any damage, and just rock it to the side, and then grab the plate with your tweezers and put it out of the way, and there are those two wheels on the right hand side, and another wheel there as well. That's part of that mechanism for auto winding. Now that I've got the plate out of the way, I'm just going to remove two case screws, and these case screws have clips, and you have to get the screw and the clip out. I've seen watches I've repaired before where the clip was wandering around in the movement and causing it to jam. So sometimes you have loose parts that would cause that. So I haven't yet been able to diagnose why this watch has stopped. So just move that screw out of the way and then grab that clip. It's trying to be funny with me, and move the clip out of the way, and then going to attack the other clip on the other side. Should be same problem basically. Just get your screwdriver in there. Get the right size screwdriver while you're doing this. If you get one that's too small, it just is no good. Get one that's big enough. And I'm decided to brace this a little bit with my Bergeron pad here as I press down and get a little bit of pressure on that screw, so I can very carefully unscrew it without damaging the screw or without the screwdriver slipping at all and causing damage to the case. So you've got to be super careful here, and this is a very small movement, so I'm up close working on this. And there I've just decided to use a piece of Rodico to remove the screw this time because it's small, If you're doing work with small screws, sometimes it's best to use a piece of Rodico, otherwise the screw could fling somewhere and you'll never find it again, and then you have to find a replacement screw, which can be a lot of fun. So there we go. That screw is out, and I'm looking at the movement right now and saying, okay, can I tell why this movement has issues? Let's dump the movement onto the mat, turn the gel pad around, and then just give it a light tap here like this, and it should fall out. There we go. And the movement has fallen out, and now I can replace the or take off the hands, and it's in pretty good shape actually. Now to remove the hands, the first thing I do is put a very light piece of plastic on there, and that way I can actually remove the hands and not worry about them flinging anywhere. Plus it protects the face of the watch as I get my very small hand removers under there to pop these hands up. So there we go, the hands have been removed. And with these hands I can grab them with either Rodico or use my tweezers. In this case I decided to use my tweezers to just grab the hands very carefully and again put them out of the way. And all this will be stored in my watch jar later on that you'll see. And here I'm very careful to grab the pipe of the seconds hand so I don't bend the hand itself. Now I've noticed with the watch movement, the rotor, there's something very fishy with the rotor. It looks like the hairspring is over the wheel, so the center wheel. It looks like the hairspring is over the center wheel, so I'm looking at that hairspring and see if I can move it back. But right now it looks like a thing I need to do under the microscope, or just take the wheel out and be very careful with it. So we'll see. We'll have a look at that a little later. Now there's two small lever hooks that are part of the movement that you just swing out of the way, and they actually hold the dial feet in place. So you just take your screwdriver and swing it like that, sideways, and that moves that hook out of the way. And then you just need to do that to the other side, and then you're able to, there we go, see that little hook there? That's a pretty cool little design, and these Tudor watches are pretty high end. And I'm getting to the other side of the watch here, and I'm going to move that hook out of the way too and try to get this in camera while I'm doing it. So I get the screwdriver into the edge of it and just turn the movement with the screwdriver like that, and now both are free, so I should be able to just lift the face up. But I decided to take a screwdriver like I normally do and just see if I can wedge it in there and move it up a bit just to get it out of place, and there it comes up very easily. And then I rotate it around to get the other side while I hold the brake, just like in my card magic. So hold the brake with with the fat of my fingers, and then you're able to move that up and out of the way. So very carefully. There we go. And now I should be able to pull the face straight up and away, and just put that aside. And you got to pull it straight up. If you don't, you can bend the feet, and you don't want to bend the feet. So there's the top of the movement, and there's the day wheel on there. And now we've got the movement sitting here on the pad. I'm just having a look at it and see if I can do anything there. So I decided to just get that hour wheel out of the way so I don't lose it. And I was going to pull off the cannon pinion, but I thought right now I want to get this watch working first, so I just leave that cannon pinion where it is. I thought it might come straight up, but I don't want to play with that right now. And I want to just make sure that the watch is in working condition. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually see if I can get this watch running again. I'm looking at the various screws here, and I'm just seeing if those are down good, and they are. So no problem at all. I'm just examining the front end of this movement here. I don't believe I've ever worked on a Tudor before, so I've got to be very careful. So just flip it over like that, and I think I need to put this watch into a movement holder to do more work on it. And here's my favorite movement holder of all time, my Myers number 58 movement holder. And guess what? There are attachments that do fit this size movement. It's really small, and when I put those attachments in and put the movement in place, that thing was in really well. I crunched it down very well. So great movement holder. Now that I've got the movement in the Myers number 58 movement holder. I said, okay, let's take out the balance cock, or the balance complete. So loosen that screw up, and you'd notice on the top there I've got a brass balance tack with 2 tacks, and I made that balance tack a while back, and I made a smaller one for watches and a larger one for pocket watches, and a little tiny bucket to put the balance cock screw in. So here I'm looking for the back. There's a very slight opening, or just a little opening in the back. You're able to put a screwdriver and rotate it, and then you're able to move it, blah blah blah. I actually think I forgot how to speak English for a second there. So there I've got the screwdriver in that little crack in the back of the balance cock, and I get my tweezers out, and I've tried to take this thing out. Now you don't want to stretch the hairspring at all, so you want to keep them together as one unit. In this case, the balance did not want to come out, so the best thing to do is to start over again and try to grab another pair of tweezers here to help you remove that. And here I've got my second set of tweezers. I just kind of put them in carefully, and then I grab the rim of the balance very carefully. I don't want to break the pivot on either end of the balance, the pallet for the balance staff. So I'm trying to be as careful as possible here. So once I've removed it from its position, it's free of the gears, then I can put it on that balance tack really carefully. I just want to get it out of the way so I can rest for a second and figure out what to do next. So I want to line that up. Now when I'm lining it up, it turns out that the tweezers are kind of blocking the hole. So I want to grab that balance with the other tweezers nice and carefully and make sure I've got it so it doesn't fall, and then locate the hole, and there we go, done it. Now I'm seeing if the pallet fork is snapping back and forth, which means there is power to the barrel and to all of the movement, and it does snap back and forth nicely. So there's really no reason for this watch to have stopped, because there is power from the pallet fork hitting the impulse jewel and swinging the balance left and right. So I'm just checking the pallet fork bridge to make sure that's on tight, and I'm checking some of these screws too to make sure they're on tight. There's no issue there at all. So there we go, a little bit of an examination of the problem. So looking at the balance here, it kind of looks cocky, I'll say, for lack of a better expression. I'm looking at the balance from a few angles, and it just doesn't look like it's sitting right. There's something wrong with the hairspring, I think, but we'll have to have a look at that after. But before I do that, I want to make sure that all the parts are present and accounted for. So I'm going to fill up this parts container here full of all the parts, and I try to group them separately. So I said, okay, this should go over here, because these 2 screws are for this plate, so let's keep it all together so I don't have to guess where things go. And it's always a good idea to group your parts that way. The rotor's fine where it is, so I just put the rotor down there, and then grab the screw for the rotor, the one that was loose earlier. When I put that in, I'll likely put some very mild Loctite on there to make sure that screw doesn't come out again. And there's the ring that came off, the retaining ring for the movement, and the stem and crown, and then the face. Very carefully take that. That's why I like using brass tweezers, by the way. They don't really mar anything they grab, so they're pretty good that way, even though they might not be as I think specific or as accurate is the right word than other tweezers might be, but they're very good for watchmaking. And again, I usually do pocket watches, so these tweezers are great for pocket watches, no problem. For watches, I could go down to a smaller tweezer. And there we've got the clips. These are the dial or the movement retaining clips, and putting those aside with the 2 screws. So now I know where things go, and just kind of organize this movement holder container. These I bought off AliExpress. They're pretty cheap, and I've got probably about 10 of them, even though right now I've only got 1 more watch on the bench. Here's another picture of the balance, and see how that does not look right. There's something wrong here. I think I need to get a close-up of this, because this looks kind of wonky. Is that the correct word? Wacky or wonky? And there we go. Doesn't look right. Something's off, and the balance needs to be absolutely perfect in its position. another quick shot of the actual movement holding case that I have. And there we go. That's the problem, folks. So as you can see, the hairspring, this is under a stereo microscope, and the hairspring is riding from the stud on the left through the regulator pins, but see how it sweeps or swoops downward? I'm trying to point at it with my screwdriver here. It goes downward and then back up again. And I think that's sloppy work from a watchmaker that had a screwdriver in there or something and totally screwed this hairspring up. Now, I'll have to see if I can repair this, straighten this hairspring up. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to attack this problem. Might be for another day, but you can see that obviously the hairspring wouldn't work. It's not centered properly because of this. Even the regulator pin is off to the side. It's bent. The one that's kind of in the middle where the hairspring is riding through the center of that regulator pin is off at an angle that it shouldn't be at, which would further cause the hairspring for the watch to get jammed up in between the two regulator pins. So I have to remove all of this and then attempt to straighten up the hairspring on this watch. Else I'll have to source another hairspring. So I went in there with a needle just to show you where the problem was. So you can see me pointing at the problem there. And there's the hairspring. Get that out of the way. It kind of swoops down and then over. And there we go. Pretty ugly situation, and it's no wonder the watch isn't working. So this is done by a watchmaker. The watch itself would not do this. So whoever the last watchmaker was totally screwed this watch up and then returned it and gave the person some excuse. Anyway, JD, thanks for watching my channel. I'll catch you later.